Welcome to Oyate Today. Oyate in Lakota means people. Regional Health is a proud sponsor of Oyate Today. We believe in helping communities live well. Hi, welcome to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Oyate Today is produced by Tim and Jackie Gallego. Tim is an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Our guests tonight is Anna Quinn, Executive Director, and Miss Roxanne Andre, Day Center Coordinator, both of the Hope Center here in Rapid City. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us.
We really appreciate what you're doing for our homeless relatives in Rapid City, so this is a pleasure to have you both here. And Anna, as the Executive Director, could you tell us a little bit about the history of the Hope Center, when it was established, and kind of some of the services and background of those services?
Yes, definitely. So the Hope Center was started back in 2010 by a project of the First United Methodist Church. Back in 2014, then, the Hope Center actually applied for its own nonprofit status and got its own nonprofit status. So we've been in the community now for just a little over 7 years, as a nonprofit for about 4. And I've been there for 4 since it became a nonprofit. And really what we do in the community, our goal is to connect with individuals that are living in the crisis of poverty, whether that be housed or unhoused, and really build bridges out of poverty, help get them connected to community resources, give them a support system, provide them the connections and the love that they need to build their dignity, build their hope, and then eventually get into better situations.
Sure. Now, have you been Executive Director the whole time in your 4 years there then?
I've been Executive Director for the whole 4 years that I've been there, yes.
Okay, and then have you seen any changes in that 4 years as far as where, I guess it was 4 years ago as opposed to now?
The Hope Center has seen a lot of change over the years. As you can imagine with any nonprofit, they grow, they change, they adjust to changing demographics, things like that. So initially when the Hope Center began, it was, very focused on just kind of filling some gaps in the community. And as we've seen growing need, our filling of the gaps has gotten bigger.
Sure.
So a lot of what we've seen has been kind of out of necessity. We, since I started at the Hope Center, our guest numbers have actually increased 71% in 4 years. And so we've seen huge increases in need in the community. And so then that helps us kind of adjust as to what direction we're going and where that need is and how we need to help.
Sure. And so there's a stigma that's placed on our homeless relatives or our homeless population in Rapid City. There's kind of a, just certain level of negative, stigma placed on them and such. But the Hope Center really does provide hope then. It really does provide hope through the advocacy and the advocacy-based services that they're receiving there. So could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we do things a little bit different at the Hope Center. So traditional case management is what a lot of agencies do, and that's pretty typical based on grant requirements and federal funding and things like that. But we do what we call advocacy, and so it's very similar to case management, but we don't have specific case plans. We don't have specific deadlines for our guests. We really work with our guests to meet them where they're at and to determine what their goals are. Because I might look at somebody and say, you need a new outfit, or you need to, work on an addiction issue. But for them, they might say, I'm hungry. I need food. Yeah. And so until we address, things kind of on a hierarchy and look at, where that individual is at, what their goals are, and then help them work through those things, you get the buy-in and you get individuals that are ready and willing, and it works out really well. So we really walk next to our guests on their path to help them, identify their goals, identify how to get there, and then whatever time frame it is.
So these are almost individualized plans that you're kind of creating and working with the individual to kind of get them to where their needs, whether it's food for the day, perhaps direction to find work clothing, things like that then.
Yeah, every single one is individual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so as far as the poverty issues and some of the other things, and we have a strong Native American population in Rapid City, and I know that you are working closely with, poverty and trauma-informed services. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and the importance of that, please?
Yeah. So we really, at the Hope Center, we look at where people have come from. You know, it's not necessarily what we see on the outside or what we see today or the situation that they're in at this moment. There's a lot of things that lead people to be there. And so we look at issues of child abuse and neglect when they were a kid, of historical trauma, of, you know, various things that trauma-wise could affect somebody and cause them to have mental illness, depression, anxiety. And then we also look at, you know, the research behind poverty and how individuals living in poverty are basically in crisis. You know, it's very similar to living in war. And so, you know, to be able to be compassionate to those situations and that background and that history really makes a huge difference. And so I think, you know, being able to sit down with somebody and say, tell me your story, that's awesome. And we love that we're able to do that.
Sure, sure. And so could you talk to us a little bit about, well, basically list your services and some of your core services and what's available at the Hope Center?
Are you ready for this?
No, please do, because I want this information out there.
So we have the day center itself, which is a safe place that people can go during the day to get out of the weather, to get out of vulnerable situations. We provide permanent mailing address to about 2,700 people in Rapid City right now. Permanent phone number.
Just let me get this straight. So 2,700 people receive their mail at the Hope Center.
Yep. Which means they don't have permanent, stable addresses, and which means they can't get a job, because you cannot get a job without an address. And so we provide the phone and the address. We do lots of different classes and groups: life skills, computers, financial management, AA. We have our advocacy program. We provide basic storage, mentoring program. We have a free laundry facility. We give out basic need items, basic food items. In the summertime, we have a community garden. So really anything we can think of to, one, provide services, and then two, to really get people connected and involved and, you know, feeling like they're part of a family, because they are. You know, as a community, we are a family.
Sure. And are there other groups or organizations that you work with in the community to kind of help with services, provide services? And could you talk about those other organizations that the Hope Center works with?
Yep. We really work every day to collaborate with anyone and everyone possible that can potentially provide a benefit to one of our guests. So we make a lot of referrals all over the community for basic services, mental health services, and then we receive referrals from many different agencies, you know, for the services that we provide.
Sure. What would a typical day be like at the Hope Center then? What hours do you kind of run, and what's a day like down at the Hope Center, just out of the week?
Nothing is typical at the Hope Center, which is good, keeps us on our toes.
Yeah.
But we right now are open from 8 to 4 Monday through Thursday, and then 8 to 2:30 on Fridays. And then our days depend on our guests. You know, we have a lot of guests that are kind of our regulars, because they're either on disability or they're unable to work for various reasons, and so they come in, you know, a lot for the social aspect.
Sure.
And then we have others that might be working or might be getting services elsewhere, and so we might have some guests that come in just for mail. We have some that might just come in for coffee. We might have some that sit down and work with one of our staff for 2 or 3, 4 hours at a time. We have people that come in for classes and groups. So it's really all over the spectrum.
Sure.
As to what our days look like and what our guests look like in their situations. So.
And we had a really brutal, never-ending winter this past year, and I'm sure that the Hope Center was filled with guests coming in during that time. How important is that to just bring them off the streets in those times of, I guess, when weather is bad or other needs? So how important is that in our community?
Huge. You know, sometimes I think people forget when they see homeless individuals that they're still people. They're human. They deserve all of the basic rights that everybody else deserves. And so, you know, for us to be able to say, you should not be cold, you should not be wet, you should not be outside, is huge. And our ability to bring people in and offer a hot cup of coffee or a hot cup of tea
Sure.
is, you know, it might be something small, but it's something important.
Definitely. And I'm sure you accept donations then, other
do.
than monetary, just donations of blankets, clothing, food. And where would somebody who wants to donate bring those then?
The Hope Center is located at 615 Kansas City Street, so right downtown. And we accept donations during our business hours. So if somebody's ever interested in donating money or supplies, they can just stop in, and one of our staff is always right at the front door, and they'll help you out and get you connected. So.
All right, Anna. Roxanne, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk to the Day Center Coordinator, Roxanne, when we get back from our break. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
It was after his third open heart surgery. Brady started crying and grabbing at his chest. We agreed to call 911 right away. And by the time we got him out to our vehicle, he was completely limp.
He was slumped in Mom's arms, got some oxygen on him right away, and he started to come around.
We were pretty scared that we might have to relocate. Buffalo Regional really wanted us to stay here and not have to move to a bigger city.
They've proven to us that they'll be here for Brady.
You know, it's really busy in the coffee house, not just in the morning, but all day long. And it's really important that we serve our customers hot coffee that's ready for them when they're ready for it.
We get that, Michelle. And our team at Black Hills Energy will make sure you have the electricity you need to keep that Java nice and hot. Speaking of hot Java, how about a cup for the road? Black Hills Energy. Life sponsored by Energy.
You can't predict life's ups and downs. You just give it all you've got to stay on top. But it's easier with a partner like Security First Bank. Since 1898, we've been riding with you through the country's biggest ups and downs. And this is where we'll stay. Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on. Member FDIC.
Native Sun News has been voted the best weekly newspaper in its class for 2015 by the South Dakota and North Dakota Newspaper Associations. You can find a copy of the Native Sun News at many businesses and vending machines in Rapid City and the surrounding area, and on all 9 reservations. We publish every Wednesday, so advertisers and subscribers can reach our diverse readership by calling 605-721-1266. The Native Sun News covers the other side of the story.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. Once again, our guests tonight is Anna Quinn and Roxanne Andre, both of the Hope Center. And once again, Anna, thank you very much for the work you're doing and the information that you provided in our last segment. So I understand that the Hope Center more or less provides kind of day services, whereas the Cornerstone Rescue Mission does the overnight, the evening, and the feeding of our community. So how's that relationship, and how do you kind of work together with the Cornerstone Rescue Mission then?
You know, in Rapid City, with the level of need that we have, you know, it's really important that Rapid has the 2 agencies that are really dedicated to working with individuals without homes. And so we do a lot of back and forth. You know, many of our guests stay at the mission, and many of their guests come see us. And so, you know, we try to work very well in collaboration to make sure that we're getting guests moved in the best direction, and, you know, kind of collaborating those services, making sure we're not duplicating, and, you know, using resources the best possible.
Yeah, that using of resources and not duplicating resources is important for kind of a community that Rapid City, like Rapid City, which is limited anyway, so that's true. And I understand you recently received a grant. Could you talk to me a little bit about that grant and share what that grant's about? Yes,
we actually recently received 2 grants.
Oh, cool.
So we got a pretty substantial grant, $72,000 from the John T. Vakurovich Foundation. They have blessed us so much over the years. They've been a supporter of ours since day one. And so the money that they provided to us is really for our basic operating, to keep the doors open, to make sure that we can do what we do every day. And then we got a smaller grant from the Black Hills Area Community Foundation for the same purpose.
Oh, awesome.
Really ensuring that we can keep doing our job, keep doing our mission.
Good deal.
Yes.
Just wanted to thank those organizations as well. So thank you, Anna, for sharing that. Now, Roxanne, as a day, let me get to my notes here. As a day center coordinator for the Hope Center, what is your kind of day-to-day job like? What do you encounter on a day-to-day basis?
Well, pretty much it's making sure that everything runs smoothly in the day center, which people can come and just hang out there. if that's what they want to do. We have the mail center there, so I'm also the volunteer coordinator. So we have between 20 and 40 volunteers that help us at the Hope Center, and we definitely could not do it without them.
Sure, and what kind of activities or what kind of jobs do these volunteers do then?
They hand out mail and they get hygiene items for people, talk to people. We're relationship based, so we always encourage that you build the friendships and the relationships with the people.
And
So I remember when I first went there, this is important. Somebody told me when I said their name, they said that's the first time I've heard my name in months. And so that's always been my goal there, is that everybody knows the name of the people who come in there.
That's kind of sad, actually, because
It's
if you have an
very sad.
individual that comes in homeless or off the streets or whatever the case may be, and somebody hasn't spoken their name in months, as you just mentioned, that's a very sad situation.
It is.
You know, and so for you to be able to provide that, as well as the volunteers and the staff, then to provide that, I don't know, that personal touch or that personal communication with somebody who hasn't had that, that's big, that's major in someone's life.
It is, and that's why that's how we try to be different, is to provide those little things so that people feel.
Just have
loved.
emotional connection
Right.
with others.
Right.
That's
And
important.
It is very important.
I never thought about that. I'm actually, yeah, it's a lot. But have you come across a family or a person or an individual, male or female, who has just gone from a certain place in their life and elevated and gone on to the next level through the Hope Center's staff or volunteers or services then? Do you know, and have you kind of seen this person or this family kind of grow and move on with their lives?
I have. I'm thinking of one person in particular who, it's not a quick thing to move from poverty and poverty thinking to move into a different way of life, actually. But someone I know that had chronic addiction, and for 5 years it took. But today he has a home.
He has a home, job,
And he has
working.
mentors, has a job,
Wow.
mentors in the community.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of people and the Hope Center, to get that done. But
Now, with our Native American population and you having a day-to-day contact with them and communication with them, what are some of the stories that you hear as far as those social aspects of their lives that lead to some of their homelessness? Or, what are some of those commonalities amongst your clients or your guests that are kind of putting them in these places of homelessness or poverty? Or, is there kind of some commonalities within those stories then, or?
I'm not really sure about that. I know that a lot of the people that we see do have chronic addiction, mental illness, generational poverty, and I think that all of those things can contribute. And once a person starts that downhill slope, it becomes very hard to come back up because that becomes the norm. So I think I'm always grateful for all the programs and everything around that keep reminding us that we don't have to stay there, that we can move out of that.
That it is possible to come kind of full circle and get your life back together and
Right.
such. How important is the Hope Center's providing of a space for individuals to come in and just kind of communicate and visit and relax and have a cup of coffee or play some cards? Or how important is it for them to just have a place to kind of socialize in a safe environment?
Well, I've had many people tell me that that is the most important thing in the world, to just be able to come in there and with all the stress of just surviving, especially if you're sleeping outside and have to, you wake up, you have to hide your stuff so it doesn't get stolen, just all this stuff that is a pressure. And then you come in the Hope Center and you can sit down and you can read the paper, you can have a cup of coffee, and there's no pressure to perform. There's just smiles and
Now, you
coffee.
made an interesting point there as far as them having to protect their belongings then, and just, obviously some of them have backpacks or other types of luggage of some sort, and that's pretty much all that they may or may not own at that point in their lives, so they're protecting it by hiding it in bushes or yards or under vehicles or, wow, I didn't know that. That's huge. Anna, Roxanne, I want to definitely thank you for the work that you're doing and supporting our homeless relatives here in Rapid City. When we get back, we're going to talk to an individual, Francis, who has used the services at the Hope Center for the last 5 years. So we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. But I don't wanna get on. It's very sad that I can do this, was remember you. You know I usually say no, but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
I used to think news is news. It's all the same. But it's not. There's a big difference between local broadcast news and cable news. See, local stations are part of my community, connecting me to local news, weather, and sports on every device. It makes sense. Get the news from the people I trust who actually live here. No agenda, no bias like on cable shout shows or social media, just facts. For news I can trust, I stay local. Support your local stations. Text TV to 52886 today.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. We're having an excellent discussion this evening about the Hope Center here in Rapid City. Once again, Anna, thank you very much for being here. And Francis, Rencountre, is going to be here as well and discuss some of the things that he's gone through in his life that led him to being homeless here in Rapid City for the past 5 years. And Francis, I just want to thank you very much for coming on tonight and sharing your story and how the Hope Center has helped you. So if you could tell me where you're from, sir, and how and when you came to Rapid City to live.
I come from Lower Burrow, South Dakota. I grew up here in Rapid, and I became homeless about 5 years ago. I was married. I went through a relationship. It didn't work out for me. I've raised 5 kids of my own, or 4 kids of my own. I now raise my grandson that I've had since the age of 2. And we've gone through a lot of ups and downs. We've been homeless. We've stayed here. We stayed there. And the Hope Center has helped me with getting a house, getting a home, something that we can call home. We have a roof over our head. And
so just let me stop you there for a second. So you've been homeless here in Rapid City for 5 years then?
Yes.
And so in that 5 years, you've gone to the Hope Center, received services. What are some of the services that the Hope Center helped to kind of help to bring into your life?
Well, they've helped me with my housing, to get my housing. They've helped me to get me off the street, get us off the street to where we can go in and have coffee, we can go in and visit with people. The Hope Center has done a lot for a lot of people around here. It's a big part of the Native community. There's a lot of things in Rapid City that people don't see. The homeless, they see a Native American, they consider them, don't worry about them. We are someone, we are a person, we do have feelings, we do have a life. But
Well, not to mention, you said up until 5 years ago, you were living elsewhere, you had your family, you went through a divorce, you went through some hardships that landed you in a situation that you're in currently. And so those challenges, not only on the heart and on the emotions of you, it also, resulted in the physical homelessness of yourself. And so what is that like, actually? What is it like to be homeless, to not have a place to live, to not have food or a reliable place to, get your mail or food or things like that?
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, it's not a good feeling to be homeless because you don't have nowhere to go at night. In the daytime, you can go to the Hope Center, you can go different places. But when that sun goes down, you have to start looking for somewhere to go, to get out of the cold, to be able to feed yourself, be able to feed someone that's with you. So they've helped a lot. They opened doors for a lot of people that people don't understand what the Hope Center is for. You can go there, you can talk to somebody. You could just go in there and get out of the cold. Yeah, to be a person. People recognize you there. They see you on a daily basis. They get to know you. They get to know what you're going through. You could walk in with a sad face and you're walking out of there with a smile.
Well, speaking to Anna and Roxanne, they made me smile this evening based on the work they're doing and their kind personalities, so I can understand that.
It's definitely a good thing to be able to walk in there in the morning and see all the staff. And they say good morning to you, and you see a smile. You give them a smile back. It's a place of. It's almost like being at home. You can walk in the door. You can have coffee. You can visit somebody. You got something on your mind or something's bothering you. There's people there that can help you. You could be someone on the street. You can sit there and conversate and work things out.
Sure. And Francis, I understand that, through your hardships, through the past 5 years, through those ups and downs and those struggles of being homeless here in Rapid City, you've held on to your spirituality. And I understand you're going out to pick sage in preparation for Sundance. Is that true?
Yes. I've been sundancing now for 16 years. My grandson came into my life 16 years ago, and he sobered me up. I used to drink a lot. I wasn't a good person when I drank. I see the better self of me now that I've got my grandson with me, and he helps me understand life. I'm 3 weeks away from going to go Sundance, and it's a good feeling. We go through a lot. We suffer a lot. I pray for a lot of people. Not only, I don't pray for myself because my Sundance brothers and my Sundance sisters pray for me, as well as the community. I pray for everybody in the community. In our Native community, I pray for the white people, the black people, all of us. We're all connected in life.
Sure.
So it's a big thing. It's hard for me at times. I have a hard time. It's not a game.
That's understandable. I want to thank you, sir, for coming on and sharing your story. And I'll pray for you tonight, brother. I'm sure many in our community will tonight as well. So I want to thank you for coming on and sharing with that. And, you look like you're doing really well for yourself. So good luck at Sundance this year, sir. Anna, thank you very much as well. Thank Roxanne. I want to thank our producers. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Prairie Edge for hosting our show tonight. And I want to thank you for making Oyate today a part of your night. You've been watching Oyate Today, brought to you by Regional Health.
Yo,